born in St. Louis, and then we moved out to the Overland area, and I lived in the Overland area until my mother married my stepfather, and then I moved to Ferguson, and I was there until I got drafted. And after that, I was to the places where she has described.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you'll have to do that for me. So, you say your mother married your stepfather?
My mother married my stepfather in 1948, and his name was Leonard Gantner.
Gantner.
And upon him becoming my stepfather, I gained a total of 10 other stepbrothers and sisters.
Oh my!
2 stepsisters and 8 stepbrothers. So me and my natural sister and my stepbrothers and sisters make a family of 10 kids.
10 kids?
Yeah.
Is that why you had 10 kids?
Or 12 kids.
No,
12.
Yeah, there was 12. He had
12, yeah.
12 kids. What were your parents' names?
Well, my birth father, his name was John Hopkins, just like mine.
Right.
And my mother, her maiden name was Nettie Nickrent, Nickrent. And she grew up in what is now Radom, Illinois area.
I see.
Which is in southern Illinois. And my father was born in England. And after they came to the United States, they lived in North St. Louis, near downtown.
How did they? When did they come over? When did he come over from England? Do you know?
It must have been about 1900.
Really? Turn of the century?
Yeah.
What brought him here?
I don't know. I mean, he came with his parents. I don't know what brought his my grandparents. I don't know what brought them here. Maybe they just wanted to find a better job.
Could be. Yeah. Well, what'd your stepdad do for a living?
My stepfather. My stepfather was a brick contractor.
Oh, really?
Started his life as a bricklayer and then went into the contracting business with my step uncle. So the two of them had a business, and then they.
What was the name of it?
Gantner Brothers.
Oh, okay.
Gantner Brothers.
So they've done a lot of work in that area then.
Oh, they've done a lot of work in the area here. Yeah, especially in Ferguson area.
So was it mainly residential, or was it
mostly
commercial?
Residential?
Mostly residential, just not homes. What'd your mother do?
Well, other than raising the kids.
Yeah, I know. I didn't dismiss that, but
before she married my stepfather, she was working in various manufacturing jobs, and during World War II, she was doing that also, manufacturing jobs. As a matter of fact, she worked at the Small Arms Ammunition Plant, which is down on Goodfellow. Well, it was on Goodfellow, where the government offices there now. There's some government offices on Goodfellow, and that's where the Small Arms Ammunition Plant was.
My grandfather worked there as well. He sure did. Yeah. Did she continue after that working, or did once World War II was over, did she stop? Did she go back home?
She continued working.
Did she? Where at?
I'm not sure. I just various small jobs until she married my stepfather, and then that was it.
Was he in the war?
My stepfather?
Yes.
No, he was a little too old for that.
Too old for it. Okay. What was your relationship with your mom and your stepdad?
Fine.
Yeah. How about your siblings? Your step?
I have one natural sister.
Right.
She and I were always good, and I got along real well with my step siblings. Matter of fact, I shared a room with my step brother, who was about my age.
Oh yeah.
And my natural sister
name?
shared a room with my stepsister.
What was your
So
what
we-
was your
we
what was
got
your
along
brother?
really good.
What was your brother? What was his name? The one you stayed with.
Stepbrother?
Mm-hmm.
The one I stayed with?
Yeah.
Tom Gantner.
Okay. Uh, when you were a kid, did you get into much trouble?
Not very much.
Come on.
There were a few occasions. There were a few occasions. But
Were there?
Not terrible amount.
Nothing serious. Okay. Like what? What was the worst thing you ever
mostly
did?
in school, getting.
Did you go to parochial school as well?
No, I went to public school.
Public school. Which
I
school?
went in the Rittner School District.
Mhm.
All of my schooling, grade school, and high school was in the Rittner School District.
So you graduated from Rittner?
I graduated from Rittner High School in 1948.
48. Okay. Now let's get back to the trouble. Now tell me, what was the worst thing you did?
Well, I think in high school, it was just getting a little too loud in class.
That's it?
Yeah.
Well, you were a good guy then.
You were a nerd, weren't you?
Well, relatively speaking, to some of the really wild ones, yeah, I guess I was.
You were. What'd you look like? You short hair, long? I mean, were you one of the pencil protector guys, or?
No, it was shorter hair. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
about what it is now.
Right. Did you play sports?
Huh?
Did you play sports?
No, I didn't. I had no sports.
You were an academic then?
I was academic. Yeah.
What kind of classes did you take in high school?
Math and science mostly.
Math and science. Yeah. So that helped you out later on then.
Oh yeah. It helped my future.
Especially drafting.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. I took a course in drafting to satisfy the requirement for practical arts, and that made a terrific future for me.
Yeah, it did. That sounds hard.
That's what got you the mapping job.
So after high school, you went to college, obviously. Where did you?
Right after high school, I got a job at S.G. Adams. And when I hit my 18th birthday, I decided maybe I could get a better job. So I went to the Missouri State Employment Service, and they sent me to a place called the Aeronautical Chart Plant. And that's where I was hired, and I worked and worked and worked and worked for a number of years.
DMAC.
The Aeronautical Chart Plant and the names that it has received afterwards. But it's still the same sort of thing.
Really? Well, what was SG? Your first employer? What did they
S.G.
do?
Adams, that's stationery store.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
was a stock boy. I think it's about the best term to describe it.
Did you go to college while you were doing this?
No,
You didn't?
I didn't go to college until I got out of the Army.
Oh, really? Oh. So when did you? So you got out of college. You went to work there. How long did you work there before you were drafted?
I worked there for 4 years before I got drafted, approximately 4 years. Then I got drafted
That was in the Korean War.
during the Korean War.
Mhm.
22.
And you'd met your future wife in high school.
I met my future wife in high school.
What did you think of her when you first met her?
I thought she was pretty.
Braces and everything, huh?
Yeah.
She still is.
That's right. Well, did you guys? We were talking to her earlier. Did you date? Did you have a car and you went out on dates, or did you ask her out for the first time? How did you do that?
Well, first time we were going out, I didn't have a car, and we would have to either walk to some place close to us, close to her house, or we would have to take the streetcar to wherever we wanted to go. So we went to, if we had to go downtown or to Wellston, we'd have to take a streetcar.
Right.
And if it was downtown, it was 2 streetcars.
2 streetcars. Had to make a change.
But if we went to a local movie theater, we could walk there. And I don't think she minded too much having to walk.
No,
Everybody walks.
everybody walks. Yeah. What's some of the movies you saw when you were dating her?
Oh, I don't remember.
Don't remember?
It's so long ago.
Abbott and Costello.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Abbott and Costello movies, a lot of them.
Three Stooges.
Three Stooges. Oh, that was romantic. Well, okay, you got drafted, and did you know you were going to be drafted? Did you feel you were going to get drafted?
I figured on it that I knew that I was going to be drafted. When I hit my 18th birthday, I had to take 2 streetcars to get to Ferguson to register for the draft there, because that's where the draft office was. So when the Korean War broke out in 1950, I thought, uh-oh. And sure as anything, in 1952, I was drafted.
Did they notify you by mail at that time? Is that how it worked?
Oh, yeah, I think that's how it worked.
So I guess you were dreading that coming in the mail. You were drafted. What arm of the services were you in?
United States Army.
U.S. Army. Mm-hmm. And so you were getting married at the time.
Shortly after I got drafted, we got married. She told you about the time, and etc.
Right.
But from 1948 until 1952, I worked at a place called the Aeronautical Chart Plant.
Mm-hmm.
So that when I got drafted, I was sent to the camp near Branson, Missouri, and I was there for 3 weeks because they didn't know what to do with me because of my background.
Really?
I wound up being sent to Fort Belvoir, Virginia, which is the headquarters of the Corps of Engineers. And when I finished that, I was sent to Camp Stoneman in California. I spent 3 weeks there because they didn't know what to do with me. And I wound up...
You were overqualified, is that what you're telling me?
I wound up being sent to the 62nd Engineer Topo Company in Korea. And when I checked in there, I was assigned to the photo mapping platoon. And I remember the company commander telling me, because he knew about my background. I had told him about my background. He said, well, if you have any ideas to pass on to the platoon leader, don't do it in a way that you make him think he's stupid. Because I knew probably as much about mapping as he did.
Really?
Well, as the name implied, before I was drafted, the Aeronautical Chart Plant, that's what it made, was aeronautical charts.
That's what I was going to ask you. Aeronautical charts for who?
For the government.
For the government.
Yeah, and
for the Air Force.
Yeah, for the Air Force. Well, for the military, because the other branches also used them.
And this was for the pilots?
Yeah, for pilots and navigators. And
of the United States or the world?
Of the United States.
Oh, okay. All right.
But the charts were over almost all the world. And when I got to the outfit in Korea, I was assigned to a photo mapping platoon. And then later on, they needed somebody in the survey platoon to be in charge of checking the maps. The survey platoon members checked the maps. So I was there in the survey platoon, and there was at one time. I mean, we traveled all over, but there was one time we were assigned to a place up near the front with the Field Artillery Observation Battery. Well, for some reason, the observation battery had stored artillery ammunition there, and somehow the communists found out about it, and they shelled it. They shelled us. Well, I think I hold a record for finding a hole in the ground quicker than anyone else. But
Wow.
then when it was over, when the ceasefire was signed, I was there for a little while, and then I was sent back to my outfit, which was just outside of Seoul, Korea. That's where our headquarters were. And then we got into a lot of other survey activity.
In that area?
All around, but mostly not too far away from that. But I remember one assignment we had was in Incheon, which is on the coast. And shortly after we got back from there, there was a colossal flood at Incheon. So we were so happy that we weren't in Incheon when it happened.
Yeah, that was. What were the surroundings like there when you were there? Was it pretty primitive?
In Korea.
In Korea.
Yeah, they were pretty primitive. Where we were stationed was at what had been a college. So we had pretty nice place to stay. You know, I mean, our quarters were pretty nice. A lot of other guys, of course, had to stay in tents. And so, you know, it wasn't always. But we were grateful that we were able to live in the building.
Sure. I'm sure you made a lot of friends when you were in.
Oh yeah, and it was. I remember one special friend of mine who also served in the photo mapping platoon with me when I was in that platoon. He was from Detroit, Michigan, and he had, of all things, worked for the Army Map Service before he got drafted.
Really?
So the two of us were both smart guys.
What was his name?
Al Barberzinski.
Barberzinski.
Oh yeah, when he found out my ancestry, we got along real good.
Do you still talk to him at all, or
No,
any of the guys?
We're completely out of contact.
Oh, really? Do you have any contact with any of the guys, or any
No.
foreman? You know?
No, nobody from the 62nd Topo.
But he does belong to the Korean War veterans.
Yeah, I'm a member of the Korean War Veterans Association, which meets here in Florissant at the
Oh, really?
VFW post.
Oh, okay. Several guys around here.
Yeah, there must be about 50 of us that are members.
Really?
But we're doing pretty good when we have 10, 20 people, 20 people at the meeting.
Right. Yeah. And then after the Korean War, you came back.
Korean War, I came back and went back to the Aeronautical Chart Plant, which was at that time called the Aeronautical Chart and Information Center. It's still the same kind of work. I was still a cartographer, and we made charts that were used in various things. I remember one set of charts we made that I consider important were the ones that were used in the Berlin airlift.
Really?
And then, after I got back, I got back from the Army. I decided to go to St. Louis University.
How many years were you in the military? How many years did you serve?
In the Army?
Yes.
A little short of 2 years.
2 years. Okay. And then you came back and you.
Then I went back to the Aeronautical Chart.
Okay.
And after a while there, I decided, well, I better improve my abilities by going to St. Louis University. And the best part of that, it was under the GI Bill, so the government paid for it.
Right.
So it took me 7.5 years to do that because I worked full time and then went to school in the evenings and on Saturdays. And then finally I graduated from St. Louis University in 1962. And then after I graduated from St. Louis University, my employer decided to send me away to study Yale, studying astronomy at Yale.
Astronomy.
Okay, so I was there a year. I got a master's degree in astronomy
In a year?
in a year, and I took the family up there with me, as she described.
Mm-hmm.
Took the family up there with me, so. And then my daughter Teresa was born up there. She was the odd one. She was born up there. Everybody else was born in this neck of the woods. And then after I got back from Yale, I was assigned to the job of making lunar maps. We made maps of the moon, and they were done from photographs of the moon taken from the telescopes by satellites that were orbiting around the moon. Artificial satellites that had been sent and orbited around the moon. And then after several years of that.
Now those maps were used in the moonshot?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After that, I went back into regular cartography because they sort of shut down the moon thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back into regular cartography, and we made maps we made charts of several places. And then in around 1964, they decided to send me. They needed somebody with my background to get into inertial navigation systems. So
Really?
they sent me to MIT to study inertial navigation systems.
Navigation systems used for what? For missiles?
No, well, they're used for missiles, but also they're used on aircraft and ships.
Oh, okay. Ships at sea?
What it does is, what an inertial navigation system is measures direction and speed, and it uses that to compute where you are.
Oh, this was prior to the GPS then.
Well, GPS got involved into it.
Really? Okay.
But initially it was with instruments aboard the vessel. But then when GPS came along, then GPS made it even better.
Right, I see. Improved on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there until I retired.
What year was that?
1990.
The 90? Okay.
Retired from there, and rather than just stay around the house goofing off, I decided to get
Especially since you got 10 kids.
They were getting up there by then.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
rather than just do nothing around the house, I decided to go into substitute teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I substituted in a Rittner school district.
Teaching what?
Math and science, German and Spanish.
German and Spanish.
Because in college I had studied Spanish, and in high school I had studied Spanish. Rittner School District I wanted to go to because that's where I had gone to high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also substituted in the Hazelwood School District because it's nice and close.
Right.
When I first started that, we lived on Huntington Drive in Ferguson. I'm sorry, Florissant, but in the Ferguson School District. However, they required more of the person background than I had. So, but Hazelwood wasn't so picky. So I was able to substitute in the Hazelwood and Rittner school districts until 1990.
Tell them what you would do when you had gone to a Spanish class.
Oh, yes.
Substitute.
Well, in the other class, I would write on the board, John Hopkins, lean teaching machine, and strike out lean. If I had a Spanish class, I would write, Me llamo John Hopkins, y yo hablo español. And they would see that, oh, because they figured they were going to get the goof off the whole lot.
You weren't your typical substitute. Yeah.
And the Spanish teachers always asked for me because they knew that.
Oh, that was good. Now, what does that mean?
Yo hablo español.
Yes.
I speak Spanish.
Ah,
Me
very
llamo
good.
John Hopkins. My name is John Hopkins. Yo hablo español. I speak Spanish.
Oh, yeah, that would kill you if you were a kid. Now, did you work at the planetarium as well?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I worked after I got my degree from Yale in astronomy. I worked at the planetarium. Some of it was talking, but most of it was teaching classes in astronomy.
Really?
He was on the staff of St. Louis University, and
Yeah, it was because even though it was at the planetarium, it was through St. Louis
It
University.
was an accredited class
Yeah.
then. I see. Did you enjoy that?
Oh yeah.
We enjoyed it too.
we used to pick him up after school because carpool would let him off.
Oh, I
One
see.
kid each night got to go.
Oh, I
Stop at
see.
the park for on the way.
Oh, I see. I got you. Did in your planetarium, did you speaking? Did you were you there during the shows and that, or?
Most of the time, no. It was a regular classroom type.
It was a regular
thing,
classroom. Because when I think of the planetarium, I think of the.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
The auditorium.
The projector.
Mhm,
Yeah,
absolutely.
But,
Yeah.
the best part of being at the planetarium is, whenever I had off, if I wasn't teaching, I could see the show for free.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I don't blame you. Yeah. Well, did when you were working with the moon, mapping the moon, did you know at the time that was part of the moon shot, the moon landing, or was that
we
something
had an idea that it was, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you map any of the parts where they did land?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so the Sea of Tranquility and all.
Yeah.
Wow, darn, that is interesting. Yeah. So, what do you do on a given day right now that you're retired?
Your routine.
Your routine.
Well,
routine.
yeah, I'm retired. I even
Mhm.
I even gave up substitute teaching.
Yeah. How long did you do that? When did you give it
For
up?
about 8 years. I
About
gave it up
8
in
years.
98.
98. Oh.
So for the last 10 years, it's been, well, for a little while, I was walking the dog before the dog died.
What was his name or her name?
Snowflake.
Snowflake. Oh, I have heard that name.
We walked the dog. I walked the dog, and now I just walk myself.
Yeah. Well, I know you had a bit of an illness.
Oh yeah.
A year or so
when I
ago.
recovered from that, I decided, well, I'm going to start getting my exercise again. So I've been doing some walking. Not nearly as much as she. I mean, if I'm gone an hour, it's a long time for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's around the neighborhood here, down around the block and then around the block and so on.
Right. Did I'm trying to remember. You had what was your illness? I forgot about a year ago. What was it he had?
Septicemia?
Yeah.
You spent quite a bit of time in that.
Infection
Mm-hmm. You've come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're back. Let's see your hat. Put your hat on.
It's hat that I wear with great pride.
That's very nice.
It is.
That's
You'd be
very nice.
surprised how many people in the stores or they're walking, they'll say, "Oh, Korea," he said, "Thank you, sir, for serving."
That's nice.
Or if they're another veteran, they'll say, "Oh, I was in."
Compare notes.
Yeah.
And I consider the Vietnam veterans young fellas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't blame you. Yeah, it makes sense. Did around the house when you were first married, were you a handyman?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, apparently that would tell me a little bit about that.
I don't think I've ever could be called a handyman.
Well, like the time we were moving that furniture downstairs and it got stuck in the stairway.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Well, I think I had to take it apart, didn't I?
How
Yeah,
did
but
you
how?
take it out?
With
Chainsaw.
screwdrivers and stuff.
No, chainsaw is what you used.
Chainsaws. Oh, okay.
It was so wedged in there and all of a sudden, rum, rum, rum. He just sawed it apart.
Oh, okay. Well, that's one way to do it.
That's how handy it was.
Did you when you were going to school, did you do all the yard work? I mean, were you the yard man too? You mowed the grass? Did you sound like you were a pretty busy guy when you were?
Well,
Or did you have some of the slave kids do it?
No,
Yeah, all those boys.
most of the
yeah.
time, as she pointed out, we lived in Berkeley,
Mhm.
and we also lived on Huntington Avenue in the Florissant area, and that's while I was in school, and most of the time I'd cut the grass.
Right.
However, the boys did help too, especially as I got older.
Well, where'd one of your older boys, Mike? He's a mechanic. Did he get that from you?
Oh no.
Okay.
Michael can do anything.
And mine's
John
very
too.
heavy too.
Yeah. Oh, I know John is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, where'd they get that at?
I don't know.
Just
Oh.
by doing.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Were you
Maybe-
mechanically inclined? Were you
Maybe
the?
from Grandpa.
I did most of the stuff, like I'd lay floor tile and I do all the painting and
Sounds like
things like
Janet.
that. I did all
Yeah,
that.
she's like Janet.
Yeah, more like Janet.
You know, the perfect one.
Yeah, like Jeff isn't very handy, I don't think either,
But he can cook.
but he can cook. John couldn't even cook except for chili and sloppy joes.
Chili and sloppy joes. Is that true?
Yeah.
Steak.
You still know how to make those?
Oh, well, I'll eat them.
Yeah. Let's see. How's your life been different than you thought it'd be? Did you have any plans when you were in high school that you didn't fulfill or that came out
Well,
better?
I don't remember what I planned in high school. I knew I wanted to go to college, but we were rather poor, so I had no way of going there.
Mhm.
So what made the difference was the GI Bill. But I didn't have any ideas what I wanted to do.
So getting drafted was actually a good thing.
Yeah, getting drafted was a good thing.
Would you have joined up had you not been drafted?
Probably not.
Probably not.
And I don't know what, I probably would have worked at S.G. Adams, continued working at S.G. Adams.
Yeah, probably would have.
If I hadn't, well, if it actually, I was at the chart plant before I got drafted, so I guess I would have stayed there, but I don't think I would have gotten all the advantages that I
Because of
have had now.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the education, that helped me a lot. I mean, I had much better jobs.
Sure. What Yale and MIT?
Yale and MIT.
Those sound like. I mean, from what I understand, that's pretty hard school. Is that true? Were they difficult?
Yeah.
And what were you, summa cum laude?
Yeah, and you graduated
No.
what?
Or,
Magna cum
Magna
laude
cum
from
laude.
St. Lucie.
Okay.
That's why it was so unusual that they, Globe
Put it in the
Democrat
paper.
did an article on it.
Oh yeah,
That
tell me
wasn't-
about the article.
It wasn't an article, thing.
Yeah, we missed that on.
Yeah. So they did an article about you
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the Globe Democrat. Is that correct?
At
Mm-hmm.
that time, that was a.
That was after you graduated.
Yeah.
I see. And went through the entire list of your accomplishments and your
I
children, and never mentioned your wife.
I mentioned his wife.
Mentioned her, but not that she's.
Everything.
He was number 2 in his 8th grade class, grade school, and he was number 9 from Rittner High School.
Wow.
So he graduated pretty high.
What was your favorite course when you were in Yale and MIT? I mean, was there something you look forward to?
At Yale, it was astronomy.
Astronomy. Mm-hmm.
And at MIT, it was inertial navigation systems.
That was your favorite. But
Yeah.
did they have? There were other prerequisites to taking those courses? I mean, like, did you have to take English and history and all that?
Well,
Statistics.
they wanted a background in mathematics, which
I see.
which I had.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I think that was about it. And then having been a cartographer, working on aeronautical charts, that sort of helped them realize that I knew something about navigation.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That and the astronomy, that really blows me away.
Yeah.
That's.
But I thought he said when he came back from Yale, he said when he gets buried, he wants to be buried face down. He never wants to see another star.
Well, I guess when the Hubble telescope came along, that was very interesting to you then.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, was that those were things you'd never seen then, right? I mean, when you talk about astronomy, were you talking about, our solar system or the universe as a whole?
Well, the universe as a whole, but
Mm-hmm.
mainly our solar system is what we're concerned with. What we were concerned with.
I see.
Do you believe in UFOs, Dad?
Huh?
Do you believe in UFOs?
He used to
Do you
teach a
believe
class
they
in that.
exist?
I didn't believe in them,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think they were what they said.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe they were unidentified things that they just never were able to figure out what they were, and therefore they
Mm-hmm.
got the tag UFO.
Do you
Mm-hmm.
think
Wasn't one of
there's?
the classes you taught something about UFOs?
Yeah, I did. I did teach a class.
Was that at St. Louis University?
No, that was at the planetarium.
Yeah, which was through St. Louis University,
Yeah,
because they employed you.
yeah.
So you don't believe there's other parallel universes? And
Oh, I think there could be life on other
galaxies.
Totally ruled
solar
it out.
systems.
Yeah. Well, I mean, being a mathematician, it's
Right.
almost mathematically impossible, is what they say. Is that true?
What?
Is that true that it's
Yeah.
mathematically impossible for there not to be life on other planets?
Oh,
I mean, according to the,
Well,
that's what I've heard.
I think that maybe other stars have planets like ours,
Yeah, that's what
so
I'm
there's a
getting.
possibility of life.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you wrote a letter to the editor in the Post-Dispatch, and I remember it had something to do with, well, that if science has
universe.
proven there have been other living other life on other universes, Miss Universe pageant should allow them representatives from these other
That's true.
places in the universe to be on.
Yeah, Miss Universe is just Miss Earth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's taking in a lot of territory there.
Well, and then that brings to the other letter to the editor he wrote about Jesus dying for us. Now, if there are life on other planets and galaxies, does he have to go to each of those and die there, or does his death cover all of it?
Yeah. Who's that include?
And I don't remember if they
He used
answered
to
you back or
They
not.
published a lot of his letters
They
to
did.
the editor.
Oh, did they?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Yeah. Was it
Over the years.
was some of it political, or was it all scientific?
No.
Scientific.
Scientific.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should have written a column for him.
One time he presented a paper in Australia, the government, his business sent him to Australia, and he went there and presented a paper, and it was about, this many pages thick or whatever.
Oh, really?
And there was hardly a word in there you could understand. I mean, it never.
So you- calculate.
So you've been to
I've
Australia?
been to Australia.
How many countries have you been to?
Well,
Japan.
I've been to Canada, been on business to Australia, and then in the army, of course, Korea. But that's about it.
In Japan, you went to Japan.
Oh yeah, well,
Oh, yeah.
I've been to Japan from when I was in Korea. I went to
Mhm.
Japan on R&R, rest and recuperation. They call it.
Preston Ricketts, right?
And he bought me some china.
Oh, well, that was nice. Was there anything else you'd like to tell everyone? Any Polish or Yiddish you'd like to tell
Yeah,
them?
some Polish. There's some Polish.
Well, in Polish, I don't know how to say hello, goodbye,
Mhm.
how are you, and then the dirty words my cousins taught me.
And hello is
Hello is how you say hello.
in Polish.
What do you say to Father Motel?
Oh, Yakshimash.
Yakshimash.
And I
Nice.
say that to our pastor. I say
He's
Yakshimash,
Polish.
and he
Oh,
says,
is it?
which
Okay.
means how are you? And the answer is Dziękuję dobrze, which means fine, thank you,
Oh.
in Polish. German I studied.
Latin.
Huh?
Latin.
No,
No,
I
I
didn't study
did
Latin. I
Latin.
studied
That
Spanish.
was
She
part of
studied Latin.
nursing school. You
I
had to
studied
take 2
Spanish,
years of
German, and
Latin.
when I was in Korea, I was studying Japanese, and they found out that the guy that was teaching us Japanese, and they took him out and they arrested him because it was against the law to speak Japanese in Korea.
Really?
Wow.
And if we wanted to ask somebody instructions when we were surveying, if we wanted to ask somebody where to find something, we'd ask them in Japanese, and they'd look around and make sure there was nobody else around, and then answer.
Really?
Wow.
Because Korea had been occupied by the Japanese
Yes.
from 1911 until the end of World War II.
So that was kind of a no-no.
And so, yeah, they hated the Japanese.
Well, the United States put Japanese in
Internment camps.
during the Second
Mhm.
World
Oh
War.
yeah, we
It's
had that's
outrageous.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. We did
Can't
have
believe that.
Japanese Americans in the internment camps. Good thing they didn't put the Germans there. There wouldn't have been anybody left for the army.
Yeah.
Or the Italians.
We're the master race, the Germans.
Oh, well, I guess we're about done, unless you got anything else you'd like to say.
Advice?
Well,
any advice
to
for your
the
kids or great-grandkids?
or
Well,
Stay in school
yes.
Take math and
Stay
science.
in school, take
Go to
math and
church.
science. That's good.
and go to church. You know.
Yeah.
Go to church.
Go to church.
Yeah.
Any church. Just
Because
visit.
Dad is, he is a deacon. Was that what?
Oh,
Well,
he did.
I was
He
serving
was
as a Eucharistic minister until I got too sick to do it.
And there were people. I still have people come up to me now saying, you know, I loved it. I loved PSR class when your dad taught it. It was so interesting. Parish School of Religion.
No
He
kidding.
taught
Well, that's interesting.
for years.
Oh,
And
man.
back in the day, you didn't teach up at the church. You went to people's houses and you sat in their living room, and it was very informal, and you had PSR.
You enjoyed that?
They enjoyed you,
Kids
Dad.
enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, math and science. Go to college, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Go to church. Anything else?
that's about it.
That's it. Okay. Well, very good.
And he doesn't drink or smoke.
Doesn't drink or smoke.
Neither does Mom.
I don't either.
Excellent. Good job, guys.
Thank you.